up to the same old fight, chasing shadows in the night. Promises made, but I let them fade. Caught in the cycle, I'm feeling betrayed. Round and round, I'm losing ground. Trying to break free, but I can't see. These negative patterns are haunting me. Nights turn to days, I'm losing my way. Thought I found peace, but it's led me astray. Chasing the high, but it only brings pain. The more I run, the less I gain.
Hey, everybody, hey, and welcome to another session of Tarika Say It Again. And we have with us today Mrs. Tara Lamar. And she is our guest, and she's going to speak with us specifically on domestic violence as a teenager. As you know, we dealt with domestic violence last week, and we spoke specifically on the safety planning, making sure that you have a plan in place. We felt that it was necessary to share out as far as the specifics as a teen survivor. And that's what she is, a teen survivor of domestic violence. So she's going to give us some insights, and parents, you all listen in, okay? Because your child might be dealing with something that you're unaware of.
And you know
Welcome.
what? Thank you. And you know what? So many people think that domestic violence only happens to women. It didn't. But let me go back and tell you a little bit how it started with me. Of course, I always knew someone hitting me, or I even talked about how do you let someone do that. And then once I got to college, maybe my first year, I was so excited about going to school, just away from home. But you know what? The person who I decided to connect with, I had no idea what my next 4.5 years would be like. Domestic violence is
Mm,
something that is hidden, you all, and it's embarrassing because you know that it's out of order. You know that.
mm-hmm,
And me,
mm-hmm.
I always thought, oh, he just did it once. You know what? Once in January. Then it happened in February. I got the roses. Meanwhile, I had maybe like a black eye, but I just knew that me apologizing, always walking on eggshells, but I always had the hope that he wouldn't do it again. So I'm going to say the main reason why I stayed is image. Everybody wants to have you're supposed to go to school, meet your husband. The rest is history.
Right.
Kick everything under the rug and carpet just to have the image. And furthermore, I was embarrassed. I couldn't tell my mother
Mm-hmm.
that sent me over to school and this is what I was dealing with. I played the part. I was a liar. And I'm saying like emotional liar.
Mm.
Like every time you saw us,
Yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
appeared, yeah, we appeared to be the couple. Everybody envied us. But what
Mm-hmm.
I never shared with anyone until I graduated was that I was fighting almost every weekend. I mean,
Mm.
I've had guns pulled to my head. I've had a gun in my mouth. Just so many different things that happen, and I know that it happens based on my esteem and my self worth. So I ended up 5 years later.
Wow.
Yeah, still was going to marry him, you all, but I started looking at me and saying this isn't right. And I'm going to be honest. I probably would not have left him if he wouldn't have left me. We were 1 month away to my wedding. I was picking up my wedding dress. And he said, you know what? I don't want to marry you anymore. That was a blessing
So
in
it was a
disguise.
blessing.
It was
Yes.
I didn't know that at 22, 23. Everybody wants to ring, did everything that society say I was supposed to do to look like I was successful. But the whole time, you all, I was lying the entire time. So again, it really is rooted in self-hatred. I'm going to say self-hatred, low self-esteem, and image. Yeah.
Right. And I want to first say that I'm glad that you said that you told yourself, I'm not going to allow anybody to hit me. Like, who would let somebody hit them? Like, I'm glad that that was the first thing that came out your mouth, because I hear a lot of women say that today, right? Like, I found just getting older and maturing and with wisdom that you shouldn't say what you will never do, because sometimes you find yourself eating those very same words. And the fact that you mentioned that, I just wanted to pinpoint that. And I want to say that I'm sorry that you had to undergo something like that. And you also talking about the different types, because me in listening, I heard there was some physical abuse. I heard that there was some psychological and emotional abuse, and who knows what else. But just in that short summary that you gave me, I picked up on those things. And the weapon, now that's serious. You could have lost your life.
They have lost my life. And you know what, you all, as I sit here and think about it, now definitely healed from it. Or, I
Yeah,
did
yeah.
counseling, I did some of everything because I realized I was eventually going to get married one day. And you don't know how stuff
Hmm.
would come up later on in your marriage with the controlling, the mind. Oh, you're not going to tell me. Because let me go back here when I'm saying again, in college, I wanted to hang out with a lot of the other girls. I couldn't because of his jealousy and his control. So what people thought
Mm-hmm.
that was, oh, he just wanted to be under me, that was possessiveness. That was his issue. But I followed
Hmm.
along because I knew later on it would be an argument if I didn't. So I would tell parents, and I heard a lot of people last week or a couple of weeks ago with this Cassie and Diddy case, like, why didn't she just leave? I was Cassie. Get where I'm coming from? As far
Right.
as the inner, she thought that maybe if I was just a good girl, maybe if I just do that, you would approve of me. So now we get back
Hmm.
into that little girl stuff and you get the hope in. And so you have all of that that's going on with you. So I know why she saved. I know what happened.
Right.
So, and I can just kind of go back. So we kind of pass judgment. Again, if you haven't been in that situation, it's not, oh, if it were me, I would just. No, never in
Right.
a
You
million
can't
years
speak
did
on
I.
it.
So you definitely has to do that's like self-work for the rest of your life to make sure you change those patterns, those thought processes.
Right.
So I
Right.
did the journaling, did the counseling, did the crying, a lot of reassurance that it wasn't my fault because you can
Right.
blame
Right.
yourself. It was my fault. It was my fault. But doing counseling and journaling, no, Tara, it wasn't your fault. At that time, that's what you attracted. It's where you
Hmm.
were at that moment. And
Hmm.
so,
Hmm.
yeah, fast
And
forward,
I
I will
think,
go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was going to say, and I think that that's key that you mentioned that it's not your fault, because a lot of times women are stuck, and they're having this mental battle, and they feel that it's their fault. It's something that they've done that is causing him to act the way he's acting, or
Mhm.
responding to them the way he's responding. And that's definitely not the case. Like, we should not be responsible for another person's happiness. Like, you know what I mean? Because that is key. I've heard a person tell me before in a relationship, you don't make me happy anymore. Okay, so why are you still here? I feel like you need to go on to where you feel the happiness is. Because one, you should be happy on your own. Make yourself happy. And then maybe it'll gel more. But if you coming in with some issues, it's not gonna gel. It's not gonna, if you're looking for me to make you happy, and that's with anybody in relationships. If you are getting with a person in hopes that they can make you happy, that's the problem right there.
It is.
That's the issue right there.
And women like to be fixers, if you will, anyway. Women
Yes.
are fixers. I
Yes.
am a high school educator or a former high school educator. You would, there's domestic violence on campus. So, I mean,
Yes.
we see it, hey, let's pull you over here. Not necessarily the women getting hit as much as it is the young men. It's equally the same. The only way we feel as though we can have controls if I hit you. No, ma'am, cannot. I mean, yes, you have a suspension from school with it, but we need to get into the mental part of it. Why are you doing this again? So
Mhm.
there's a lot
Mhm.
of healed hurt trauma that goes on in all of us to do it and to also stay there longer than we're supposed to.
Okay.
Definitely would tell parents, let me share this with you. You will see now, had I been home, I will say because I was away, had I been home, my mother would have been able to see how I started isolating myself from people. You know what I'm saying? I started isolating myself, like being outgoing, Miss Congeniality, to just kind of just wanting to stay to myself. That's not who I am. So had she seen that, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, again, she cried. She cried once I finally told her 10 years later. 10
Mm-hmm.
years
Mm-hmm.
later, I finally told her. Again, I didn't want her to think it was about her, what she didn't do. She still was sad, like, why didn't you tell me? I couldn't tell you that. Hey, I was embarrassed.
Right.
And
Right.
what? And then the fact you say what you would blame yourself for everything. No, I didn't want to do that. So I held on to it again, finally through counseling, journaling, talking, because it's definitely therapeutic. It worked out
Right.
for me.
Right. I was going to ask if you had reached out to someone for help and you sharing, no, you didn't.
Not
Um,
during. Mm, no, I
right.
didn't.
And then, but also you mentioning what you just shared, like an outward manifestation of those parents that might be listening, what they should see if you're withdrawing from the family or a particular behavior or something. That's something that they should pay attention to.
Because and I
Definitely.
often see like young people, and I'm like, you're too young. You can't have guys who are friends. Everybody. I'm like, it's always you like this guy, you like that guy. No, no. And I think a lot of young ladies do the same. They can't have guys who are friends. So now you're dealing with the abandonment issue. You're thinking because I'm talking to that person, you're thinking they're going to take me from you. Now you're working in an abandonment issue. So we don't know that at the time, but it happens.
And also, when we talk about abandonment, and that's one thing just in general, because you've hit on a lot of things when we talk about my book, Addictive Patterns.
Yes, ma'am.
But when we talk about abandonment, those are just some inner virtues
Yes.
and issues that people are dealing with and might have been traumatized as a young child, and
Yes, ma'am.
now they're still dealing with or manifesting those things.
Yes.
And then sometimes we look to others because of the abandonment, and we want to hold on to this person that's toxic, that's
Yes,
no
ma'am.
good to us, because of the abandonment issues,
Mhm.
because of the daddy issues, because of the mama issues, because we can't leave that out. We've already said that when we talk about abusive relationships, it's not always the man on the woman. No, the women, they have that habit of always putting their hands on men too.
Yes, they
Like,
do.
it's the statistics, it's out there. We're not making it up.
Yes, ma'am.
So going back to your school years,
Steady.
how did the abuse impact your school life? Did you notice, or say your relationships, like your other relationships as your friends, was there a decrease in grades, or were you still able to keep up with your GPA? And
Every man is
okay.
front. If they tell me, hey, I really don't want you to go there for my safety, I'm like, no. So everything was about you're trying to control me. You're trying to control me.
Mhm.
Once I saw that,
Mhm.
I had to go back to therapy because no one no one was really sticking around and kind of working with me. I didn't know. We were young. I've even had someone
Right.
who I really enjoyed being with, and he was saying, Tara, like, here goes abandonment issue. I know that I dealt with abandonment issues as well. So
Mhm.
if he didn't call me or he didn't do, or if he raised his voice at me, then I would go out and just kind of like, "Ah." And he was like, no, until you get healed or get some help, I like you, but no, it's not. I don't see you working on your self terror. So then once again, here's abandonment, here's rejection, and then I'm back over here again. So I realized as I've gotten older, and because I wanted to do better, just kind of staying in counseling to help me see what my triggers are and to kind of like push them down when I'm feeling like I'm being rejected or anything. But that comes with work, a lot of work. Yes,
Yes,
it does.
definitely.
And I wanted,
Definitely.
definitely wanted it.
For yourself.
Absolutely. Like that. That's what I'm saying. I wanted it for myself because I knew eventually I wanted a family, I wanted a husband. I wanted that. So I know in order for me to have what I desire, I had to do the necessary internal work. And it can still creep up every now and then, but I have to realize or
Mhm.
recognize that was from the past. Put her back down, put little Tara back down, and then, yeah. But again,
Right.
I'm aware of my
Right.
triggers. I'm aware of my triggers, and I even see them as I journal. So that is what really helped me out to see when this happens, then I act, behave this way. Tell your parents, talk to your sons, talk to your daughters,
Yeah.
because They're going off to school. I'm telling you, they're going off to school. Everybody wants to feel accepted. And we would do anything that it takes to feel accepted by, new people. You want a girlfriend, you want a guy friend, you may find yourself being in a situation you never thought you're a child. Because me, parents wouldn't have ever thought that about me. But watch behaviors.
Right.
Watch those isolation. Are they controlling? Are they jealous? Are they trying to monitor their mate's phone number? You gotta watch that with kids because I see it in high school too.
Yes,
I do.
definitely, and I can concur. We see the children, the guy pulling the girl's hair, like yanking them, like get here type thing. The girls hitting on the guys more verbal as far as calling the girls out of their names, the H's and the BITCH's and everything else that goes with that. Like that's a part of abuse, not just physical. No, you got emotional, you got psychologically, sexual, financial, like all of that. The financial part affecting them, but maybe it could
It
because
is. It
it
is.
could get them to do some things,
It is.
honey, do us what they say, do strange things for some change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's all about that's control at the end of the day. We're gonna take it back to the Cassie. And I'm just bringing that because it's more relatable. That was all going on in
Yeah.
this relationship. What we're discussing, I'm sure if you sat down and talked to put 10 women, I'm sure at least half of us have been in some type of domestic violence relationship. May they be honest or not. Yeah, somebody has been slapped. I've seen it. Not everybody. Again,
Hmm.
there are a lot of
Hmm.
people. I'm just healed enough to kind of share and come out and say, this is how we need to help ourselves.
Right. And that's part of the process. Speaking on it, like you said, doing your journal writing, that's all a part of the therapeutic process. And you also mentioned something as far as doing it for yourself. And that's key because if you don't want it, then you're going to continue to stay there. You're going to stay in that relationship, still accept those type behaviors. And, people have actually lost their lives due to the toxicity.
They have,
And,
you know what, and I've seen
oh,
it.
okay.
And oh, I'm sorry, we can get into the, I've seen people,
Right.
lose their lives. You know, Leslie, I am happy that I did not lose my life, not physically, but a lot emotionally. I was dead. You get where I'm coming from?
Yes.
I was unalive and
Yes.
whatnot.
Yes.
It's taken years to get back to where to there. I definitely like it. So I definitely am mindful. What am I telling myself? Well, I'm married now, but what am I telling myself? So I want the kids, the younger people. That's what we're talking about. As college people going off to school in a couple of months. The behaviors that go on
Yes.
campus, the behaviors that
Yes.
you see. So any parent who's watching this, listen, we hide stuff. And I just want,
Yes.
have that relationship with your child to say, hey, if this is
Yes.
going on, definitely have to. Yeah.
Yes, please. And that's important that you said, okay, we have kids. It's another year, end of a year. And you have these students that's about to go off of school, students that will be returning to school, that's still living on their own and having to figure out these things on their own. Because I'm sure they're not calling your parents for everything, but sitting down and just having those conversations, those tough, those hard conversations. Hey, has a guy or has a woman ever or female ever put her hands or his hands on you? That could be a great start to see how they respond
Mhm.
to it. Or, hey, play this video, play
Absolutely.
this video and see how they respond to it. Maybe this video can be a segue to get this conversation going.
I talk about the emotional manipulation. Oh, you rather go out with your friends and hang out with me. That's another form. You know what I'm saying? You have all
Yes, like guilt.
the guilt, yes. And it's like, okay, well, I guess I won, So you have all of that goes on, physical, emotional, because it always starts off definitely as that mental. And then next thing you know, here's the pushing. Next thing you know, here's the shoving. Then the rest is history.
Right.
Uh huh.
I was gonna ask you, once you got out of this state, right? This state of mind and felt you deserved more, was it like a weight lifted off of you? What was your thought?
Right. So let me tell you this. Initially, you would say, okay, well, Tara, you got out of this, the physical, but then I got over here in another relationship too. Again, I started counseling. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling better now. Then I found myself being in another like emotional type relationship, abusive. Then I pulled back, but I knew to jump as opposed to like, let me just stay here. So at that time, I'm like, okay, you're still healing. You're not healed yet.
Mm-hmm.
So
Not
you can think
healed
that
yet.
you can think that you're healed until you're back in another relationship to see, okay, better now. So those were definitely my kind of like a gauge or lesson learned. Like, okay, I'm learning, so I'm easy to let go now. Like, honey, go ahead on, you can go instead of trying to work it out.
Right. And I know a lot of times we feel that that person might be the best thing ever, and as if there isn't anyone that's better. And sometimes they play those mental games and make you feel like you can't get anything better. I know I've spoken with women just over the years, especially if they had kids, more than one child, or a lot of kids, as you would say. I've heard women testimonies and they say that they shared with them like, you not gonna be able to get nobody else with all them kids, ain't nobody gonna want you for the various reasons. I've heard those testimonies before. It's
So
just crazy.
it is. It definitely is.
So in wrapping this up, if you could speak to another teen going through the similar type thing, what would you say to them to encourage them?
It was not your fault, Terry. It was not your fault. And I'm talking to the little Tara. And I always talk to the little Tara. So
Yes.
talk to yourself to say it was not your fault. You're wonderful. You're beautiful. You're amazing. And it may be simple, but a lot of people don't talk to themselves that way. And I'm learning what you put
Mhm.
out there about yourself. It is going to emit that energy that you're putting out there. But I've learned, so you got to talk to yourself to make you feel better. You are amazing. You're wonderful, but not just say it with words, but actually feel it too. You won't even stay with that
Yes.
unattractive.
Yes.
So you are
Yes.
worthy. You are not the cause. Definitely would say that.
Well, you all have heard it straight from the mouth of a teen survivor of domestic abuse or domestic violence. And as we know, that is multifaceted and it affects everyone differently. However, key point for sharing that you have to talk to yourself. You have to affirm yourself. You have to reassure yourself. If you don't do it, then who's going to do it? Okay? So it starts with you, the work, the healing. I hope you all enjoyed and got something out of it. Parents, please sit down and have these discussions. Don't wait till they go off to school. Hey, if they in elementary school, middle school, talk to them now. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. Have a good one.
Thank you.